a sport a sport? Is it the physical prowess and the way that you exercise? Is it the audience? Is it the players? Or is it the salary? Well, professional League of Legends championships contenders make $410,000 a year. In comparison with the major sports league, such as the Major Soccer League, those players only make $399,000 a year. So maybe it isn't salaries that depend on it, but we could argue that. So my name is Hallie, and I've been playing video games for around 10 years. And recently I've begun delving into the competitive scene of video games, whether it be by watching video games or even playing competitively them myself. So I believe that competitive video games can become one of the conventional sports, such as your favorite sports that we know today. And this can be by the market value, the skill strains, the transitional skills that we learn from these games, and from the future outlook. I will be using the example of League of Legends, which is a team-based game with a bunch of characters that have specific abilities on a set map. So, as we all know, sports are very arduous and very physically demanding. So, genes such as height, muscle mass, and things that you're born with such as that can really help you stand out in physical and conventional games that we have. So, unlike video games, you don't have as many possibilities, but versus video games, you can really do a lot more with what you've got. So, you never really know if the thing that you use to de-stress and have fun could turn into a career. So League of Legends currently has 150 million users registered. Of those 150 million users registered, 123 million have played within the past month. So in one of the League of Legends championships finals that we've had, they peaked at 3.9 million users, which ranked them of an audience that was the third most popular in ages ranked from 18 to 34 of all sports, including the NFL and the NBA. And if we want to talk about the amount of revenue that these games are making, well, they're making League of Legends in specifically $1.7 billion. In comparison to maybe the Major Soccer League, which is $1.1 billion. And not only all of this, it's like the high revenue on the high end, you've got just maybe like your sports that you have with your kids. You've got fees, tuition, and equipment, and all of these things can really add up to easily like $600 on average per each sport, per child. And these, versus the video games that you can get your, those that you know into, all you really need is a console and a computer that's connected to internet. So they're much more widely acceptable to the masses and very easily can be accessed. So now that we know that video games can attract people and revenue, what really makes it a sport? So the German Sports University, led by Professor Igor Frobos, has tested, he tested a specific amount of esports professionals in their games, and he found that the stress hormone that they created was very similar to that of a race car driver. Not only that, he found that their heart rate was nearly identical to that of to those of running a marathon. So not only are these people not actually running across fields, they're being undergone the same amount of cognitive stress of those people who are. So what do you gain if you're not a professional in this setting? Well, you aren't losing everything. Like, while you may not have this exact same level that they do, it has been shown that you do gain a lot of very positive effects. So what really makes a good leader, like say in a job environment? Well, you have to work really well under stress, you have to respond well with others, and be able to work out scenarios and strategies to tackle down problems. And most importantly, you have to be able to analyze your own performance and figure out a way that you can all knock these down and like improve yourself and your team. Well, all of those things that I just named were core fundamentals for esports. And an Iowa State psychologist, Douglas Gentile, did a study on 33 surgeons. Of those surgeons who played video games, they did 27% faster on advanced procedures, and they also made 37% less mistakes. So this can be shown that the amount of hand-eye coordination and accuracy that these people who play video games do is very important, not only in the work setting, but in your everyday lives. So Dae-Sung Yao did a team studying 27 professional esports players. And he did this on gray matter, and he figured out that those esports players had a significantly higher amount of gray matter in their brain. And to help explain gray matter more, gray matter is something that increases like memory and like recognition and navigation and perception, and it increases all these things in your brain and helps it connect faster. And to help you understand even more, well, when you have less gray matter and it's on a cognitive decline, this can produce things such as dementia and Parkinson's. So those that have less gray matter have increased or like lowered cognitive abilities. So if you're a video game player, you have a lot more of this. So this helps increase the all the spatial recognition and navigation that people have, and it helps prove against the stereotype that video gamers are lazy and they don't really do anything. Like, this is really wrong. Like, while they may not be doing things by conventional social standards, they are really training themselves in their eyes and their hand, and they're really figuring out ways to tackle problem solving in just a different manner that we're used to. So if you're not impressed by all the numbers that I've shown, video games are really growing rapidly like a wildfire. So not only are they very widely accessible to everybody around them, people are not only just playing them more, but they're watching them more. In Europe alone, at esports events, these video games have gained audiences upwards of 10 million per year. They have been just getting larger and larger in these audiences. So they have a growing player base, growing organizations, and these things are becoming a very natural pillar in sports, and they're becoming careers for these people, and these people love watching them. So just like normal sports, where people may be hollering in stadiums and stuff, they're also doing these at esports events for their favorite teams. So while it may be different to things that you might know, it's becoming very, very popular very quickly, especially with the rising age of technology. So the sports that we have today are just commonly recognized mostly by society, by these like just running games like basketball, we have football, we have soccer, and like all of these things are just obviously very different from video games from a very vantage standpoint, but when you really look at it, mentally and cognitively, everything that's going on in these games, people are really just tackling the same problems. So if we reshape these stereotypes of what a sport really is, video games already fall under these standards, as they're already financially trumping the major soccer league and hockey leagues. And, well, I mean, it's just not all the sports like that. Anyways, so I really doubt any of you know like a professional esports players, aside from maybe your kids. Like, you may know Ninja, a professional Fortnite player who plays in these conventions on their teams versus against other players, which is very popular, as you can see, because you probably know Ninja just from your kids. But imagine the potential of, like, hey, if your favorite team is like the Bulldogs or something, well, what if you like specific teams like the Sentinels? And like it's just a growing, yeah. So these skills that you learn aren't really locked down just on the video games. Like, as you've shown, we can use them on life's, like the surgeons, and honestly in your everyday lives, just trying to tackle down problems and be able to learn and recognize them quicker, and with your leadership skills. So next time that you notice like a loved one or a friend or even your child that's learning video games, you shouldn't be so quick to knock it down as like a lazy hobby. Like, obviously there are exceptions to when you're playing upwards of 12 hours a day, but these video games can really help you and your child really learn more about themselves and how to overcome solutions and just become better. And it's becoming a very big pillar in the sports industry just today. And the only thing that's stopping it from becoming an even bigger pillar are the social norms that are not progressing along with us. Thank you. Okay, that's it.
Yay!
That was